It's important to understand that it's not just about you.
What?
I'm saying, look, I probably should have prefaced this with sit down. Truth bomb coming in. It's not about you. And here's another truth bomb. Change isn't hard. What's hard is letting go of the familiar.
And so when you think about helping people through change, helping people support your change, you want to use words that are going to garner support, not resistance. Welcome back to Unapologetic Rabble-Rousers. I'm DocShellie.
And I'm Carla Lewis. And we are on episode 53.
53.
I know.
And it's, when we're dropping this, it's January 1st of 2025. Holy moly.
I know. Just the notion that the last year has gone already. How often do you sit and feel like, where did it go? Not just time. You get in your car and you drive someplace and you can't remember the trip, but
right.
It's because you just sort of did it on autopilot. Yes. I don't think 2024 was much an autopilot kind of year, but it sure as heck went fast.
It did.
I think there was a whole lot going on for everybody. I know for me, and I certainly know for you.
Mm-hmm.
So
I enjoyed my practice retirement. So.
and I'm here to say that retirement really is worth the journey. I mean, it really is, because it opens up so many opportunities to pursue things that are new and different, mm-hmm. or not. It's nice having a choice.
Yes.
But when you make a choice that you want to take on something new, whatever that might look like, that's something that we wanted to chew a little bit on. Because while you may make a choice to do something new and different or be forced into a situation where you have to, it's not about should. We spent a little bit of time on that in the last episode, but when you have to, whether it's because it's for you and your health, or it's you and your family, or it's because of another situation involving some other friend or family or company, whatever it might be, there are choices you get to make. One side of that could be because you want to, and the other side is because you must. And in fact, I remember, Michelle, when we first started this podcast, we talked about change in that sense that people experience it in so many different flavors, but it comes down to two things. There's things you want to change, and there are things you have to change.
Mm-hmm.
And whichever way it goes, at the end of the day, you want to be successful at whatever that goal is, regardless of how it came into being.
Yes, indeed. We're going to go through change. We want it to be the best experience. We want it to be successful, and I don't know, I always want it to be effective.
Well, sure. And even being able to identify what are those things? What are the components of it? What is it that, as you said, effective will look like? What is it going to take for me to understand that I've actually achieved that? There are some things that are easily measurable.
Mm-hmm.
There are others, probably more so, that are not. And yet, there you are, faced with having or wanting to make a change. So what does effective look like? What does understanding what it's going to take? What does it mean to even understand what the what is? That's deep. The core of this change. I know it's deep.
What does it take to understand what the what is?
Saying, we sure know how to turn a phrase.
What the what?
What the what? No, that doesn't sound like such a positive thing. But, and there are times, I think, I have been put into situations where things needed to change. I didn't say something as benign as what the what, but it was...
Well, really? When it's done to you or you're forced into it,
really?
What is... Yeah.
Yeah, it has a whole lot of emotion behind it.
For sure. For sure.
So how do we talk about that? How do we talk about when change needs to happen because we want it to or because it must, regardless of our particular glee about it, we want to talk about what it means to be able to go through that, to start that journey, to understand what it is that we need to manage, to develop approaches and plans about making it happen. And this is not like business. This is personal. This is understanding your landscape, understanding what's in your mind and what's in your heart, who's going to be affected, how are they going to be affected, and how to manage all of that so that at the end of the day, you can say, this is where I am. Like GPS. This is where I'm starting. This is where I want to go. And this is what I need to take care of between here and there. And this is how I'm going to know when I arrive. And being very clear about that, because you really are trying to set a contract with yourself about this is what's going to go into all of this. And you need to be able to understand who's going to be impacted by it. And you need to understand that people are going to have to change around you if you're making a change, that how you show up, what you can and can't do anymore. How are you going to help them help you be successful? I'm feeling very philosophical right now.
I can tell because your voice lowers an octave when you're getting
Okay.
philosophical.
Fair warning. Danger, danger, Will Robinson. Okay. So if we were to take it up a notch from philosophical to practical, I want to give people a break from my voice. Michelle.
You're a good voice on change.
Well, thank you. How do we want to proceed with this?
It's kind of, but change happens all the time, right? Sometimes we don't even know what's happening. So if I think about, I'm one of those rare birds that loves change. Now, I don't like change for the sake of change, but I'm constantly evolving, growing, learning. Change for me, I remember years ago, I said to one of my bosses many, many years ago, early on in my career, he was wallowing in something that we were changing. And I said, Dave, change is good. And he said, if change is so blankety blank good, you go do it. And I said, okay. And I took the proverbial bull by the horns and led the change.
There you go.
But he hated the changes that we were making, and I thought they were great. So it was just kind of funny. But people, I think when you're going through change, you have to, and you kind of alluded to it, you have to recognize, are you chasing something? Are you running away from something? Are you avoiding something? Are you sad about what's changing? Are you happy about it? There's a whole emotional curve that goes into the processing of how we feel about change, let alone the actual change process. But recognizing where you're at on that continuum of change, I think is really important so that when other people experience whatever change it is, that you're able to help them understand where you're at, what you're going through, and what your expectations are of them, and then understand that they too will have their own emotional reaction to a change, and they might not be in the same place on that emotional curve that you are. And I think that the emotional side of change is huge, and people don't necessarily do enough to take care of that element.
It is so true. And whether it is in your personal life or in a business setting, you look at just the basics of resistance to change. And I'm going to start with the fact that and I know I picked this up from some training somewhere, so I'd love to claim this for my own, but it's not, that the only living being that loves change is a wet baby.
I'm not a wet baby.
I know. So the second of loving change. So Michelle is not a wet baby, but generally speaking, people don't like it. unless you happen to have a wet diaper. So, so being able to understand that it happens and we need to be able to manage it and do so with grace and elegance and love for self and others and managing boundaries and all of those things that we've spent some great time chewing on in the past year. It's important to understand that it's not just about you.
What?
I'm saying, look, I probably should have prefaced this with sit down, truth bomb coming in. It's not about you. And here's another truth bomb. Change isn't hard. What's hard is letting go of the familiar.
That habit brain.
And you look at, if we had just the 3 C's of resistance, whether it's yours or somebody else's, their comfort, their competence, and their control. Any of those 3 or a combination of them being put at risk is reason enough. And we've talked about this, that whole reptilian brain, the thing that all I want to do is be safe. I know what I know. I know how to do what I do. And if things go wrong, I know how to make things go right. And you threaten any of those things for me, and my survival becomes something that's at risk.
Are you familiar with David Rock's scarf model?
The scarf model, no.
Yeah. Oh, you got it. You got it. The scarf model's amazing.
I'm
So
not.
when you talk about things at risk, they talk about certainty, which you mentioned. They talk about status. When your status is at risk, it causes angst for people. Autonomy is another one, and being able to have control over your life and your situation. And then the R is relatedness, and the F is fairness. And so his model is just, I absolutely love this model, and I use it just a lot in conversation with people, how I craft emails, when I do training, because if you tap into somebody's certainty, if you tap into their like those things are changing for people, that can send people off the proverbial edge. And so when you understand which of those things are important to them, you can help them process through whatever change it is they're experiencing by helping them connect it to my status is changing and I don't like that. So you can have a conversation about that. So it very much connects to your 3 C's. But
That's an awesome. Who is the
it's
purveyor?
David Rock.
David Rock.
David
Thank
Rock. It's a great, just a great, I've been using this for years in coaching and some of the change work I've done, but it's a fantastic addition to what you were just talking
Yes.
about. But being able to really recognize, and you can trigger in conversation with people when you're talking about change, you're talking about jobs, you're talking about really anything, personal or professional. You can inadvertently trigger somebody's uncertainty in any one of those elements.
Yes.
By the words you choose. And so when you think about coaching, mentoring, helping people through change, helping people support your change, you want to use words that are going to garner support, not resistance. So that whole notion of being able to understand the emotional aspect, what's changing for other people, is really important so that you can learn to massage the message appropriately.
And it's about being able to help others enlist with you. If we're talking about a personal change, and maybe just for purposes of example, to be able to work through this discussion would be, you think about, I'm going to go with 2 different changes. One would be one that's maybe health driven. Perhaps it's about needing to manage your blood pressure, and there are components of your life that are working against that. And so there are things that need to change about that. Perhaps it's about another personal one, might be feeling the burn to go and finish that college degree, to do something that's going to give you that edge you feel you're missing right now, that you want to just gain that edge. And so you're going to go back to school while you're working full time and having a family. So things along those lines where they're important, you're making choices about doing things because they are going to help improve some circumstance that affects not just you, but anybody who's around you. Mm-hmm. And there's the other side of that. And in fact, in our first or second episode of this whole lovely journey, we talked about the kinds of changes that are foisted upon people that isn't of their choosing. That could be a divorce. It could be a difficult health diagnosis. It could be a parent or a family member who needs a whole different level of care than anybody had ever imagined or planned for. These things force different actions and decisions. And managing those starts with being able to understand what is my new what now? What is the big thing that's going on right now? If I had to give it a title, if it was the title of a country song, what is your big what? This is just all about you right now. There's a something that has come along that is influencing the focus you need to take on how you live your life, the decisions that you're making, who you're engaged with, whatever. Okay, there's a something. What is that what? And why is that what so important? Those two things are creating that sense of goal, sense of reason. You probably have some much better words to wrap around that. But the first thing is getting myself absolutely solid in what is this all about and why is this important?
I agree with you. And I'm going to push back a little bit on the why. Because I think sometimes there's not a good why, and people get hung up on trying to find the why. Why? And I think you mean why thinking forward. Some people get stuck in the why is this happening to me? Why me? Why in more of the victim why.
So
you don't want to get hung up on the victim why. No. Shit happened. You may never know why.
And this is the what needs to happen and why it's important for me to be able to succeed at this, as opposed to why is this happening to me?
And like I think about weight loss, for example, big change for a lot of people to lose weight. And I hear from people, like, I don't really have a why. There's no big, strong why. I would be one of those people. My weight, whether it's too much or too little, has never impacted what I do in my life. I am active. I do things. I go out with my friends. I play sports. I've always played sports. And so my weight has never prevented me from doing things. So for a lot of people, I want to lose weight so that I can be more active. I want to lose weight so that I can go play whatever sport they want to play. I don't really have a why for why I wanted to lose weight other than I want a little bit more energy. And I don't know if that's going to give me energy or not. I have a ton of autoimmune issues that zap my energy. So I don't really have a big why. And I'm okay with that. Other people really struggle. If they don't have their why, they can't lose the weight. And they struggle with finding why, particularly when they've been overweight for a very long time and they're very overweight. They don't have a strong why. It's fascinating to me. So I don't have a strong why, but it has not prevented me from losing weight. Other people don't have a why and they don't have the motivation to figure it out, to lose the weight.
Okay. And I accept all that, and I would push back a little bit as well. Because even the notion that because I want more energy, I don't know if it's going to help me or not, but that's what I'm going with. Why is more energy even important?
So I don't know. I just
I know. And so what's interesting is, and we're both familiar with the notion of doing the 5 or the
the
7 or the
five
9
whys.
whys, right? Digging down and saying, okay.
It's just not that important to me to figure it out.
And that's great. That's great. And the why might be because it doesn't matter. I just want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes down to having to make decisions and choices about things that may interfere with or challenge the pursuit, those will be the things you can pull out and say, okay, this is how I might be making a decision to do this versus that. So for me, the what and the why become together. They're a thing. They're the thing. This is my goal. And for some, the why of that being a goal is going to be much more clear than for others. Because I wanna is maybe good enough. And if your wanna is strong enough to be able to support you in the decisions that you want to make about what's going to have to shift, what are you going to have to start or stop in order to achieve this goal of, let's carry on with the losing weight, because I'm certainly familiar with that one. And being able to say, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to lose this weight. And if I had to have a why, it would be because I know my health will be better. I know that my numbers will be better. I know that my dependence on medications that come into play when weight is not managed effectively and impacts my systems, my guts, whatever. But what it comes down to is, if you want to do this, there's going to be different things that have to happen in your life. You're going to make different choices. It might be about the schedule. It might be about what you do and don't partake in. I used to joke about, in a kind of odd way, Thirsty Thursday, where there would be that notion that people would
Order
gather.
beer night.
Yeah, right. There you go. And we're going to go, and we're just going to, it's almost the weekend. This is great. We're going to get together. We're going to share time. And time is usually involving and on a tear to be able to lose some weight, and this is just not going to help facilitate that, then you get some choices to make. You can still go to Thirsty Thursday and consume, but it doesn't have to be what you used to consume. Mm-hmm. Then we're actually going to squeeze back toward those shoulds that we talked about in our last episode, where, okay, you're making some choices that are different than you've made before. But everybody else's habit brains and habit expectations of you in this, they're going to say, what's going on with you? Come on, Carla. You usually order wine in a beer glass, so they don't have to come over as often. What's with the ice water? That's just what it is. People will notice. Does it matter? Maybe not. But when we start making decisions about things that we're going to change in our lives, there are other people who are going to be affected. And whether or not that matters, the fact is it's there. And you have a choice. You can say, I really don't care what other people think. And the other side of it is, I want their support. I want them to understand that I'm making this change. And I want their support and awareness, because I also will appreciate their encouragement. And understanding who it is in my world that can encourage and support, and those who will be cantankerous and be interested in tripping me up.
Cantankerous.
Those, the people who are, come on. We talked about it in gaslighting. We've talked about it in so many different of the boundary management conversations that we've had. It's like, okay, I have established this decision. I have a decision I've made. This is what I'm going to do. It's not because of anybody else. It's because this is what I want and need to do. And they can agree with it or not, but here's the thing, folks, it's going to change some stuff. And I'm okay with that. I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to encourage your questions and why and the what come in together as an entity to be able to just ground somebody's work that they need to do, the choices they're making about changes they want to make, and how those are going to be felt by people around them. So being able to understand what it is that you want to do and why, whether or not the why is as important as just the what success looks like, and what it's going to mean to the changes you need to make in order to start and stop what needs to start and stop in order for you to be able to succeed at what it is you want to do. And when you start stuff and stop stuff, others who have been involved, well, now they're going through a change and they didn't even have a chance to buy in. They didn't have a chance to understand. And so there's an opportunity to enlist the folks around you to understand what it is you want to do with or without the why. And say, this is what I need from you, and I'm asking you, what do you need from me in order to support this endeavor? What do you think?
I have a lot of thoughts.
Bring them on. Bring them on.
I don't inherently disagree. And I think it's so dependent on the change, right? So if we stick with the weight loss thing, support becomes very tricky because people joke, yeah, if you could just follow me around and slap food out of my hand, that'd be great. But if somebody actually did that, like, that would not be appreciated. So I think being very specific on what you need can be helpful. Also be aware that when you ask for help, people will give it to you. And I remember many, many years ago, I had a conversation with a guy that I worked with, and I told him that I wanted to lose 10 pounds. And about an hour and a half later, I showed up at my desk with a Snickers bar, and he took it away from me. And he was like, that's not going to help you lose weight. And I was like, I can have a Snickers bar and still lose weight. And he was like, no, he was some bodybuilder kind of motorcycle riding dude. He rode professionally. And he was like, no, you can't do that. It's not good for you. And he threw it in the garbage can. I was like, I did not ask you for your support. I did not ask you to take food out of my hand. He was like, well, I was just being a good friend. Well, now I'm going to go buy another one. So thanks. But I remember feeling that I just had all sorts of feelings about that. Like I felt shamed. I felt embarrassed. And I was like, I didn't ask you to take food out of my hand, literally take food out of my hand. So I think for something as personal as weight loss, you got to be really careful because people have very strong opinions about how you should lose weight. I have lost weight by eating whatever I want, just not whenever I want. And people fight me on that. You can't lose weight by eating pizza. The hell I can't. Can edit out my F-bomb.
You didn't quite make the whole bomb, so I think it's got to stay in.
You can't lose weight by not working out every day. Yeah, I can. You can't lose weight by drinking alcohol. I don't drink a lot, but I can still drink it. I make a plan and I do what's on my plan. And people have the hardest time wrapping their head around the fact that I am not restricting, I am not counting calories, and I'm not working out every day. I'm physically active. I play pickleball a few times a week. I do work out. I do yoga. I meditate. But if I go a week without that stuff, I don't care. I don't care. Like, I'm fine. People have a really hard time wrapping their head around the way I have lost my weight. And they have strong opinions about it. And they have no qualms telling me about it. I have told people to leave me alone. I have shared how I've been doing it. People still have things to say.
I think that's
I've been successful at it.
Yeah. And I think that's an awesome demonstration of what it means to be able to manage the boundaries. I think that's an awesome demonstration of what it means to manage the boundaries. Help others understand, here are the boundaries. This is what I'm going to do. I'm not asking for your approval of
Not
my
asking
approach.
for your input.
I'm not asking for you to help me manage. What I'm asking for you is to support me and encourage me. You don't have to judge me. I've got this. And if I'm wanting some different kind of support from you, if I'm asking you, look, if you ever see me with a cigarette in my hand, please spray me with water or whatever. Excuse me. In being able to establish that there are some boundaries here. Being able to understand who it is that's going to be impacted by what it is you want to do, who it is that you want to enlist in the support, and what does that look like? And then also, this is not all about one way. This is also about what, if any, concerns or issues do you have with what I've laid out? Because if I'm talking to you about this, that means I'm entrusting you with this goal that I have. And it matters enough to me to let you know I have this goal and I'm going to be going about it. The notion of boundary management, saying, I know that there are all kinds of opinions about how I could and should do this. And when I want them, I'll ask for them. This is what I want to achieve. This is what I see is going to be an impact on those around me. What I'm going to start doing, stop doing, what's going to stay the same. This is what I'm asking of you. Support me in a way that's encouraging. And unless I ask you to slap a cigarette out of my face or out of my mouth or to throw my Snickers bar away, I just want you to know. And I want to know that you know, and I want to know that you're okay supporting me. And if you're not, I want you to know I'm okay with that too. And it means that I will not, whatever it does mean. If this is somebody that you spend a lot of time with, what's that going to start to look like? It's about being able to think it through. Because whether or not it's an official contract, it certainly is an agreement that you are seeking to strike with those who matter to you, those who are influential in your environment, and those with whom you would engage as partners in this goal. Even if it's just to say, keep up the good work. Even if it's just to say, I'm going to be bringing in some stuff tomorrow because it's Donut Wednesday or whatever it might be. And is there one in particular that would work for you, or is it something you're going to be okay? I just want you to know it's going to happen. How do we respect? It's that mutual respect, Michelle. It's understanding that the people who are around you, socially, professionally, family, whatever, are saying, okay, I see something new and different. I hear about what your new and different is and why. And I don't have to agree with your approach. And I can agree to step aside from that if I cannot support you in doing what you're doing. Now, of course, if this person loves you and they see you doing something really stupid, like everybody would agree it's stupid, I'm going to cut off my left hip because I think that's about 14.5 pounds of my weight, and that'll help me get to my goal really quick. So I appreciate and so value that we can have this conversation about, yeah, there are people who are poops. There are people who are really well-intended. And if you're engaging them in this shift that you want to make, it's on you to be able to establish what are the boundaries that you would like to establish and see how agreeable those boundaries are for those around you. A lot of words to say. Can we just please, I want to do this. I'm going to need some support. I'm not asking you to make my decisions for me. I'm asking you to respect that I'm making decisions that are different. And I will appreciate you respecting that I'm doing this because I want to, and it may be hard. And I just want to know that you're behind me on this. And if not, then please know I need to get out from in front of you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I have a friend who I meet once a month for dinner. And the first thing she's will often say after, "Hey, how are you?" You know, hug, hug, hi. What's on your plan?
Okay.
And I'll say, I put three choices on my plan because I knew the restaurant we were going to. And these are three things that I put on my plan. She's, ooh, those sound good. So she's showing support by asking me, what would you put on your plan today? Which is, I love when she does it. It cracks me up. And then another friend, she will randomly call and be like, hey, do you want to go to lunch? Hey, do you want to go to dinner? And it's almost always spur of the moment. And when I first told her I was going to go on this journey, she was like, oh, does that mean we can't go out for lunch anymore? And I was like, no. I said, but just be aware that if I'm not hungry, I'm not going to eat. I will join you for lunch. I'll have something to drink. But if I don't eat, it has nothing to do with you. It is simply because I'm not hungry, but I would love to see you and have your company. And she was like, that's cool. And there has been a couple times where we've gone out and I'm like, I'm not really that hungry, so I'm just going to have something to drink. And so I do. We went out one time and I really wanted dessert and I had dessert on my plan. Everyone else ordered a meal and I ordered dessert.
But that's it. Isn't that it? In essence, it's about.
And nobody said a thing about it. Except for, oh, I should have done that.
Life is uncertain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's establishing that. It's establishing the mutual respect of what it means.
And it doesn't always, I'm sorry to interrupt. It doesn't always have to be like a lengthy conversation either. It's just, this is what I'm doing. And it's, for me, it was with these two people in particular, it was a really simple conversation. And they came up with their own way of, should I still call you when I'm in your area to go out to lunch? Yeah, call me. And then my counter to that, like I said, was I may or may not eat, but I will join you. And it's perfectly fine. And so they come up with their own things. We didn't have a lengthy conversation about it. I didn't go through the whole methodology that I'm doing. But as I saw success, they were like, what are you doing?
Yeah. It really is. It's being aware. It's being aware and saying, look, this is how things might change. And you okay with that? I'm okay with that. Then carry on.
Yeah.
It's being aware. It's understanding that there could be those moments and being able to think through it first as the person who is driving this journey, saying, okay, how am I going to handle those kinds of things? Just think it through. Be able to discuss with people, look, this is how things might come out. I don't know. It won't be the same every time. I need you to be okay with it. I need you to understand that's how it's going to be. Whether or not you're okay with it, that's what's going to be okay for me. Okay, cool. It's not about negotiation. It's really just about mutual respect and conversation and understanding that there may be a shift in the boundaries in terms of the choices I make while we're together that may be different than the ones we made that I made before. It's really just thinking through it. And for the person who is driving the change for themselves, to have done some consideration about, okay, now I'm going to encounter people who don't understand or that I haven't had a chance to share this with and say, look, this is how I'm going to explain it. Thinking it through, just understanding really what is the foundation that you're standing on for the work that you're doing and the change that you're making. And being okay with that and not feeling beholden to anybody to make it okay for them. But be in a position to be able to discuss it, especially if it's somebody that you're going to be spending a lot of time with. It's a regular part of your what used to be. And just say, this is where I'm going.
Standing in your strength.
Yeah, see how you always come up with that, really, those are awesome things. But that's it. Until you take a look at what that strength needs to be, you want it to be, it's hard to stand in it. But being able to develop it and partnership with the people that matter around you. Yeah. That's good work.
On that note, I'm DocShellie.
I'm Carla Lewis. Please be sure to share it. You like what you're hearing? And we would love to hear if there are some topics that need some voice being given to them and we haven't gotten there yet. Let us know. We're ready. Take care. It's being aware and saying, look, this is how things might change. And you okay with that? I'm okay with that. Then carry on.
Yeah. Standing in your strength.
Yeah, see how you always come up with that, really, those are awesome things. But that's it. Until you take a look at what that strength is, needs to be, you want it to be, it's hard to stand in it.